Hey, I am out on the road, but it's not like I could take a week off. Not when they're dropping episodes like this. Oh, man, it is the return of Bullseye. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, D here, and yes, I am out on the East Coast in Maryland right now on a week-long trip. But like I said, when they're dropping episodes like this, it's not like I could stay away and wait till next week. And thankfully, as always, I got my main man, Rob Stone from Smirking Gun Reviews. How's it going, buddy?
Not too bad, not too bad. Ready to talk about the penultimate of the first part of
Yeah,
the whole thing.
that would be right. That would be right. Your penultimate. We didn't say anything about the anti-penultimate. The ultimate that isn't spoken of quite as highly for obvious reasons. Um, but yeah, this is one of those where it's like you almost feel like this would be the big season finale right here. It's got a lot of feel for the season finale. I think it again returned us back to sort of our first episode and the whole death of Foggy Nelson and all of that stuff. Um, so I'm kind of excited that there will be another episode. I'm just hoping that it's not one of those like Matt on the side of death and he's looking down from heaven, weighing out the choices of his life. I don't think we need something like that, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. Um, and they managed to get to a lot of stuff that we were kind of recently talking about, theorizing. Were we going to see Dex back? Was Vanessa, what was she going to do if and when she found out with Adam? So yeah, there were some interesting things that came down this week. What did you think about this episode? How did that hit you?
Well, I mean, after what I said last week, um, I've after watching it and talking to somebody, I mean, I can find myself being able to step outside of my own personal feelings because I don't like this very much. As a comic book fan, I'm not having fun. Outside of that, I know objectively this is really good. The entire thing is objectively pretty good, and it's carrying on every as we've gotten to here, everything that they've done, as predictable as I find it,
Right.
is still really well done. And this episode in particular did do a lot to. It didn't win me back, but it made me, like I said, I look at it now as each, and I'm hoping by the time next week's finale comes out that I'll be able to continue to say that it's still it's doing what it's everything that they're putting out there, it's all getting to where predictably it's going to go. And the way that the two main performers are carries so much of the weight of this. And I did find myself like enjoying the bits that still are interesting to me, which is the dual things that are happening for Matt and Kingpin.
Yeah.
But I just find myself not caring as much about what's going on with Matt because I have to care about his relationship with that lady, and I don't.
Sure.
So much hinges on that, but I don't care at all.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everything that's happening with Kingpin in this episode, I love. I love all of it because it's like for me, I'm rewatching how he was as the mayor in the comics, putting pressure on everybody, going after vigilantes, and then adding in the bit again. The only weak part I find about this still is his wife, because again, the villain turn off camera still bothers me.
Sure.
But we did resolve the Adam thing, and it does answer like the question of like she's really just been trying to figure out a way to reach her husband. They're finding each other again through really effed up ways. While Matt is like, it's like Kingpin is just growing and Matt's life is blowing up. And the thing is like Matt's life is blowing up, and I'm just not as invested.
Well, they have a lot of their back and forth that they have is in a way of trust. You know, you have the scene between Vanessa and Fisk with Adam is going on at the same time as we're having Matt and Heather's argument about the dinner invitation. And of course, Matt cannot tell her why Fisk is so dangerous and why this is such a problem. And that the fact that, yeah, if he is coming into you, he is coming after me. He can't expose that because he can't open up to that. Where at the same time, Fisk is giving that trust and showing and exposing himself completely to Vanessa. And that is drawing them closer. And that's kind of what you have really throughout this episode is the two of them getting closer while the two of them are going further apart. And you're right. The biggest problem is that Matt's falling apart relationship, I think, is the weakest part of this. And you're right. Everything kind of hinges so much about her. Oh, I'm starting to see the connection to the violence and how vigilantes use the mask in order to get all of these things. And it's just her own kind of spiral. I mean, in a way, I'm kind of hoping they actually do something interesting with her at the time, because that fracture of relationship, and even from Matt's standpoint, I just think overall it's the weaker held done. I don't get the chemistry between them, so I don't understand. To me, it's being set up just so we can see that dichotomy, but it doesn't feel like it. Well, at least with Vanessa and Fisk, we have that relationship, we have that history, we have that connections and such, where the actor's performance can fill in those empty spaces, which I still think are in a way lacking in some of the actual writing and presentation. This does lean very hard on the performance of its actors living up the roles. I mean, again, from not just Fisk and Mask, but Fisk and Matt, but also for Dex and Vanessa. You know.
Yeah, it's the whole like he can't tell, like they do a lot of, because of Matt's guilt and fears, like Peter Parker has the same kind of fears of anybody finding out who he is. He's not worried about himself, he's worried about the people around him. And so we've got that part fine. But I just don't understand why Matt can't have this struggle without it being in a relationship. Why does she really need to? Did we really need in the end her being Fisk's therapist? It was to just again to show like her getting close and then having Matt have another hurdle to jump over. And I feel like he could have easily been going through a lot of this stuff without this. And I just don't think that the therapy thing was necessary to do all that, because we didn't need to see all that. And they didn't really do like the threat that Kingpin had would be to her just doesn't manifest, because she protected herself and now she's a hero, and Kingpin wants to just needle Matt with it. So she, again, like I've said, she's just being used as somebody to just move around the show.
Yeah.
And it is somehow like really is like this linchpin. You remove her, this version of the show falls apart. And I just say, why do we need her in the first place? Because I'm reading, this just came out, Charles Soule, Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell. This book right here, he's doing his own struggling, and he doesn't, there's no need for any of it. He's having some of the most crisis of faith moments in this one issue. And it's amazing. And I go like, that's to me, it just proves he doesn't. We don't need all of this. We don't need this many characters to juggle around. There's several characters that I feel like, and maybe it's all going to pay off in the second season. That's one of the things that I was going to bring up anyway, was that,
well, yeah,
how a lot of this is being set up I could completely change my mind, because seen then as a complete picture, a lot of this could come together and pay off a lot of relationships that start here that might not, to me now, be important or something to remember. So as much as I'm, like I said, I'm not enjoying or understanding why she's here, I'm not going to say that after it's all done and over with that I won't be happy with the end result. But it does feel like I really wish that they just do the whole thing, keep the 18 episodes together, and just go and tell the whole thing, because now I'm just going to be like anybody else, chomping at the bit to see how they're going to resolve all this.
Sure. And to me, honestly, the conflict with that just comes down to the idea of like, well, yeah, but if they had, this might not have really worked out well, because luckily they filmed halfway through this season and went, this isn't really working. We're going to have to do some adjustments. So I think in some ways the season does suffer a little bit from having a couple of viewpoints that have shifted and recombined in order to bring this package to us. I'm not trying to give it any excuses anyway, because you guys decided what to keep. You guys decided what to reshoot. You guys still decided on what to focus on. So I hope they take the elements that they have in this season and do something very well with them also. But I don't know. There is still, even with the best of the writing, and again, this is still saying that overall I'm enjoying the series, and I think this is some of the better stuff that has happened through the Marvel Disney Plus machine. I think, like anything else, there is just the suffering from, I don't know if it's so much of weak writing, it's just kind of basic. There's a lot of tropes. There's a lot of kind of expected storylines and interactions with. And I think the challenge to do with, especially when we're talking about a more premium type of show, is we want to find more interesting choices and ways to bring up, even if you have a tropish circumstance, you can develop it and expose certain things and twist it in unexpected ways that really draw in. And I think a lot of this very feels like, okay, well, he's got to have a relationship, and they're coming apart, while Fisk and him are coming together, and we'll have that be kind of like the focus point where we see, well, Matt's life is really kind of falling apart. I mean, it feels like that's kind of the structure, and then they filled in, as opposed to going, what is the best story from beginning to end?
To start off, like how they, like for this episode, to try to just focus on that, the way it starts lets you know right away that our villain, like, because I mean, come on, is Bullseye. They show him going into Gen Pop, and we know who put him there.
Yeah.
So they at least they show us something that's going to pay off later. So I appreciate it, as again, predictable, but it was good to see him back.
Oh yeah.
It was good to know that as soon as you reintroduce this character, you know that it's only a matter of time before shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I knew going into this episode that by the end, something was going to happen. And every time he was on screen, that guy was killing it. The scene between him and Matt was amazing.
That was the one thing that actually kind of spoiled me, because as I landed, I jumped on my phone and not really thinking about the time change and everything. I happened to click on old social media. The first post I see is from Wilson Bethel, just saying, well, what do you expect would happen? Or it's something along those, just little thing. And all I was like, Daredevil or Bullseye's back. Yeah, I gotta get home. Okay, it's an hour drive, and then I'm diving in. And that was the only little spoil. But I've been so excited about him coming back, and that was the one frustration, is you can't just have used him as the opener kind of instigator and not bring him back. Because yeah, he is excellent in every little bit. He really has taken a perspective on this character, and I don't know if I could see Bullseye any other way at this point. That to me is how big of an impact he's made.
Yeah, as far as changing characters for the show, this is a really high, like really good, best version that I could actually hope for, that it wasn't going to turn into like, you know, Colin Farrell's whole thing. Where you got a guy in a suit. I don't think he needs to be in a costume. He's not the kind of character that can't just be a regular guy.
Yeah.
Who just happens to have like really good reflexes and other stuff. But
and also in any ways, I was talking about, you know, yes, you may have tropes, but the key is for higher qualities to find an interesting way of do it. This is the one where I think they did find interesting ways, because Matt would be the last person you think to call. And so it brings up a whole lot of questions. Was he just trying to get Matt pissed off so that he would bash his face in, and that would allow him to get his tooth looped? Was it a fortunate circumstance? Was that Matt's way of, I can't say helping him in any way, but giving into it? It's like there's a lot of questions that go on, because all he has to do is kind of drop that little hint of like, yeah, who did send me? Okay, you've already got that part figured out. So how can I play with this to my advantage next? Nothing was really given back and forth, even though that's the scene that propelled it, because it was, that's where Dex's line to him, because that's what good men do, right? Defend their worst enemies. And I mean, there's no other line that plays into the end of this episode like that right there. Is that what put Matt on that path the same way as letting him loose? How much of that was intentional and how much of that was just interesting circumstance? To be honest, the fact that I think there are questions in all of that is what makes those choices interesting. As opposed to us going, yeah, well, of course, he just did A and then B happened and then C happened.
Yeah, we knew that he was going to get away somehow. It's how they get there. It's why he's there. Throwing in the wrinkle that I hadn't thought about the entire time, which, I mean, might be a little weird to drop like right in this episode, where he goes to Josie's and they have the whole epiphany about the drink. He's the last person served. And even though that it's a last minute drop of information that changes everything,
yeah,
I'm glad it changed everything, because then it does give an extra layer so that what happens at the very end does have more meaning and was impactful to me. I did like this. I mean, we might as well just talk about it. I mean, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Anyway. I mean, this is full spoilers. I mean, him taking the bullet for Kingpin in the end was like perfect, because it's like he couldn't save Foggy, yet he's going to save his worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole red on white, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the imagery was basic but well accomplished. Okay, you made some good choices there.
And so, like, knowing that he was there to kill Fisk, not anyone else,
mm-hmm.
and that Matt knowing that he didn't do this, that it was his wife, and he doesn't even think like I didn't think it was going to be Fisk as the target. Even then, I thought he was still going to try to shoot his wife.
Right.
which in the end he probably should if he was going to target one of them. But it was Fisk who put him in Gen Pop.
Well, yeah, I think that was his revenge bit. It's
Yeah.
that again. Look, Vanessa was just a client that I got caught. That's on me.
Yeah.
You know, that's not really the thing. But yeah,
And it will change everything. Well, maybe we don't know. Like we still have an episode left. So
well, that's
yeah,
it. Where does the fallout end up dropping us? And the fact they're going to give us a fallout, I think is again at least a good choice. And this is one of the completely redone episodes.
Is it?
I think the last one is, because that's directed by the main two showrunners for this. Whose names? Again, I don't have all of my notes. I had to do notes on a little hidden card here for everything.
All right. But it does like beg the like, are we gonna get? How long is Matt gonna be injured from this? That was something that bothered me too. Where I was like, please don't tell me we're gonna like have another like 4 like finale and like 3 episodes into the final season of just sorry guys, he got shot. He can't be Daredevil.
Yeah, please let Daredevil be Daredevil.
Because again, I mean, I think that it. One of the things I thought about when I was thinking about this whole thing, as again, was if this was a comic book, would I like it as a comic book? And I would say that because I love a lot of like really character-driven books that don't necessarily have much action.
Mm-hmm.
If it works, if it fits for the story. And in this story, a lot of people would be calling it boring as a comic.
Sure.
Because of how it is literally just relationships and a tiny bit of Daredevil thrown in. You know, and I would like this if it was less predictable. Because even like as like when I look at Zdarsky's run and I bring that up all the time, it follows a lot of some predictability, but most of it isn't predictable, just like the original show. Mm-hmm. So the only thing holding this back to me from like when I do that comparison is its predictability and how much of a show, like a TV show, this is.
Well, yeah, and I think I agree because they do treat, Daredevil like, okay, we could only use him in that final 5-minute scene at the end of the episode where we put all the money in. It's like the action scene in an old A-Team episode, where they've got to build the thing and then they do the revenge bit, and then they finally go and defeat the bad guy. There's so many tropes of where they have to do. And yeah, this is kind of, they work really hard to not let Daredevil do any daredeviling. And I think that kind of pulls back. To me, that was one of the best things about the Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman, is he was pretty much Batman the whole time. And that's kind of what we want to see. And I know that we've got to have this human drama, and that's what brings us in. But, I think there's a way to find a happier medium. But the one thing about that final scene is I think you hinted on it right there. For Matt, it wasn't even a choice. It was instinct. And that harkens back to that initial argument that he had with Heather when she is kind of comparing, I can see how this violence just moves from you to Daredevil to me. And it's like, well, these aren't the same. Muse and Daredevil aren't the same thing, which of course is something that Matt would say because he's a Daredevil. But how much as there not being a difference in her eyes, I mean, she was kind of interesting. You made an interesting point saying when he's like, but Daredevil saved you. No, I saved me. I mean, that is a good point. She is the one who picked up the gun and killed Muse, but she was only given the opportunity because Daredevil was there. And like many other things, we're like, well, that doesn't work into my argument, so I'm going to push that away. And that whole last dance scene was kind of a back and forth with Fisk and Heather and Vanessa and Matt about the exposures of who Daredevil is. You know, Vanessa's like, you haven't told her, have you? And Fisk is all doing, do you know why he's so interested in these vigilantes? Do you know keeping secrets can make you sick and all of this stuff? The concern that we had about it's just going to be exposed, that was obviously implied. And now when you have this, again, not even so much of a conscious choice, but instinctual choice of defense, of sacrifice, will this underline those differences in Heather's mind, in Dr. Glenn's mind? If she does find out that he's Daredevil, how will that end up affecting things, or will that just kind of accomplish? I mean, for us as an audience, it's like, well, that's the difference right there. Can't you see it? But again, she doesn't know that he's Daredevil, and is that really a necessary bit? So again, it's harkening back to these moments, but I am curious where this fallout is going to be, because the exposure of his identity is the easy move to make. I think it would be more interesting to see if you can tackle that question without having to make that step. Because then you have to kill her, or she has to retire and go away, because you can't have like half the city knowing Matt's secret identity.
Or they what's the term? When they change something, what do they do?
Mm-hmm. Retcon.
Retcon. Unless they somehow retcon her into becoming Typhoid Mary.
Well, I am kind of expecting her to be a villain at some point, and again, so I would like that to not happen, because that's where my expectation is.
Yeah. But then you're right. I mean, then in the end, she has to like either get on a slow boat to China or kill her. You know, she dies. Historically, Matt Murdock's left a few bodies in his wake, relationship wise.
Oh yeah, I mean that's automatically the beginning. Oh, you're the hero's girlfriend, you're probably gonna die.
I mean, and it's not, and that's another trope. How many television characters have had that tragic relationship where the girl died, and it was that last one, the one that was really gonna, change my life, that was different, and then, and then that's another beat for another season to carry on. Well, now he's got this to carry with him, and but getting into comic tropes now, I can go down that rabbit hole real far.
Sure.
And another thing, though, I did want to talk about was the rise of Kingpin, and then by extension, all his people and the people in his orbit, where we see what's his name, played by Gandolfini's kid,
Daniel
getting more like all he did was like, he's not particularly qualified or anything. I don't really know what he's good at, other than he screwed up and then fell on his sword and was basically just like, I'll do anything for you. I will,
But that's his secret. I mean, and that was the cool thing with this discussion with BB at the end. He's like, for some reason, I'm in the middle of this. It's like, why? Because you're willing to threaten people. And what does he tell him when he gets promoted? I will burn for you. Yeah, it's like, for Wilson, it's like, this, I couldn't have asked for a better person. He'll do anything for me. And he could be a total patsy, and he'd willingly do it.
Yeah. So, and I do like the not necessarily the evolution of the character, but I think that Gandolfini's kid is getting better at playing this guy as it's gone on.
Sure, I would go with that.
I'm not seeing, and I'm not thinking as much about his genes and more about his performance. And I think that he's playing this guy really well at this point, where he like, and I think that BB's, because of her interaction with the another guy, the old, the police chief,
commissioner,
the commissioner, who is screwed right now. He can't do anything. He is trapped, and none more so than this episode really showing it. That these cops, they're not gonna, I actually thought they might kill this guy in this episode, but it was more like, we can, but
we don't have to.
We don't
You're
have
not
to.
even.
You're powerless. You are neutered. We are gonna hurt this guy in front of you, and you can't touch us. And what are you gonna do? You're just one guy, and we could just end you right now. And I really like where that's all leading, because him meeting BB then, and then finally, the guy brings up Ben Urich. And we finally get, again, this episode drops a lot.
Well, and she was, and I was really glad they did that. Yeah.
And maybe they should have done more, like as far as BB's character goes. Maybe they should have mentioned Ben Urich a little bit more. Maybe, but it's that whole like turn of, we've been seeing her one way, which is she's doing, her little things, and she's trying to help, and then gets threatened, caves, and she could just be another character who just is necessary to show how easily corruptible everyone can be when threatened or whatever. And then to at least say, no, why do you think I'm doing all this? Why do you think that I'm putting up with all this? Why do you think I'm talking to that guy and putting up with what he's doing? Because through him, I get closer to the guy who probably killed my uncle. And that, again, like I said, I think that there is a chance that they'll be able to pull off bringing some of these characters that I didn't care about to become more important. And they've done that with Daniel. They've done that with BB. Even the commissioner, like all these, like they're all getting better. And I hope that Heather, see, is that her name?
Heather Glenn.
Okay, see, that's how unimportant I've.
Did I get it right? I'm
I think her name is Heather.
Because part of me was going Meredith, and I'm like,
Gina? No, I don't know. No, it's Heather. It's got to be Heather. But
Heather Glenn, yeah. Okay.
It does give me hope that wherever they're going to go with this, that all these characters can be pulled along. And I have nothing against her performance either.
No, I think it's just
doing really good at what she's being asked to do.
Yeah, I think it was just how it's handled. And I think in a way I think there's reason to give hope, because I know at least a bunch of this last scene was part of the reshoots, because the two showrunner directors shot the last scene and they made particular choices. There's an article I caught that was talking about why they, chose the red versus the blue with that they're doing with Dex and all that again, and all those kind of like, color and visual choices. But this was a longer episode than some of our previous ones. This is at 52 minutes. So, you're looking at a good 45 plus minutes of actual material. And that extra 5-10 minutes in an episode can put in so much more of this material. And I think this may have been where they're like, all right, we're going to take this, because they direct the last episode. So that was all definitely redone. And I think this is where they're like, okay, let's take the rest of this meat material that we've been dealing with and move it in a direction. Because, so much starts to happen and come together in this episode. The BB stuff, the commissioner, all of Fisk's movements, and even, his plans himself. To me, this is that fullest realization of like, okay, so now we got Fisk back as what Fisk should be as mayor. I mean, more of this from the comics run, but I am using the power of the city combined with criminal resources and choices in order to achieve the ends. And even if that end is, and I think in Fisk's mind it is, a benefit for the city and opening up doors and bringing in and expanding things, he's just at the point where, like, yes, but as the kingpin, I'll just use these resources and make it as legal as possible so I can't get in trouble for it. You know, I don't know if we can make any comparison to current administrations and just being outwardly corrupt. And especially the whole dinner scene that we had with him at the dance, pulling out people and going, okay, I'm going to shake you down. The scene with Jack was awesome. I loved when he came in and he's talking to, who was it, Artemis, asking about her husband. And she's all like, I didn't want to be rude. And, oh, I haven't seen Arthur. Have you? Do you know what? No, I gotta go. I mean, it was again, a lot of good choices that happened in this show too. To me, that instantly set the idea as like, oh, I see what's going on. It's shakedown time. Oh, you guys think you're all so powerful? Now I'll use the city to crush you.
And it is blackmail, it's another change. It's another change too from the comics.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, but I don't know. Okay.
No, share, because this is an interesting. I don't have that viewpoint.
Because in the book, when he comes up against the billionaires are the ones that control him. The ones who go, you're the mayor and you're doing all this and blah blah blah, but don't ever really try to come after us. They're indifferent, yet their capacity for violence is way more, like, they're willing to do a lot of stuff that even he would have to think about doing first.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of feel like, as good as the scenes are, because there's always the shakedown of the people in power, I just don't, I kind of tend to believe in the story from the books more, that he, like, you want to threaten the people who have way more money than you and probably way more power, and I'm supposed to believe that. And I don't really believe it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any less entertaining to watch. Especially because of Swordsman there. Oh, I honestly thought that what that scene was going to turn into was like him trying to bait Matt to do something, because he's got his task force right outside the room. And he's got the guy right in there. And if he were to kill him, because I kind of thought he was going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I mean, I don't know. Well, just the how he's sitting and how he's imposing himself there. It just felt like he was gonna at any second go, and then go, "What are you gonna do?" You know, like.
Right.
But
you know, just you saying that actually could make for an interesting second half.
Yeah.
If what we are seeing is the mirror imaging so much of Matt and Fisk, and while he and his girl are coming together, Matt and his girl are coming apart, and while Fisk is rising up into the position of the mayor, Daredevil is descending into more of chaos and indecision and what am I going to do? That would be an interesting kind of change to do from first half of the season to the second. The first half is the rise of Fisk, and the second would be the fall as Daredevil rises back up.
Yeah.
And if the fall is caused by hitting the ceiling of wealth, that he, at this point, Fisk is like, I have the position, I'm making the things happen in the city, and it's bending to my will. And then the city, or the billionaires, turn out and go, oh, little boy, you reached too high, Icarus. Now you're going to burn and die, and then have some horror really released in the city that overwhelms the task force, and that's what Daredevil has to end up fighting.
Yeah, that's a very, I mean, I don't I don't know if it's good. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that would be
But
interesting.
it'd be a really, because I don't think, again, I don't think it would happen as, I think it would be more like, why are we letting him tell us what to do? We run things. We're the ones who have the money. When they need a project done, they come to us. And we're letting him threaten us
Yeah.
with, I'm going to do this, I'll expose that, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, I feel like that is definitely a really good way for them to go. I also, like, again, with Cole North, I want that, I'm hoping that somewhere, how it still goes somewhere.
Sure.
And I think it's there was a really interesting issue of that where the Stromwinds have Kingpin to their place. And it's one of these kind of like put him in his place moments. And they've been putting him in his place for a while. And then there's this moment where Fisk just straight up murders a guy at their place. Like, just a guy who'd been kind of needling him and then just, and he has to like hide it. And it's a really interesting thing to watch Wilson Fisk panic because he lost it, and these people could do so much more to him. And I do think that would really make for an interesting thing. And you're right. If they were to get involved, they would be the kind of people to release something worse. And in fact, I think that's what they do in Zdarsky's run.
Right.
Is I think they do send out a whole bunch of villains that it wouldn't be that many. But I also think that we're going to see more vigilantes.
Well, we have to, because that's the one thing that they have been lacking in so much, is they keep talking about just the vigilante task force is doing great things. I'm like, what vigilantes? We don't really know. We're not seeing it. We're not even catching news stuff. Again, we had the one shot of White Tiger, and he's dead. And that is part of Matt's like, what? Why are we trusting the system? The system sucks, which is great. And then we saw the video of Jack of Swordsman very briefly. But there should be.
That could have been anybody.
Yeah, but there should have been at least a handful of videos in a lot of these BB sections of like, hey, here's Red Mask, and over here it's, the Puncher, and over here it's, whatever. Even make some guys up. I mean, look, there's a fucking shitload of C-level heroes you could use in Marvel. You can grab some from a
go to the bar with no name.
Yeah.
In the comics, that's their bar.
Any of those, pick any three idiots inside the fucking the cantina, the Mos Eisley cantina, and they're your vigilantes. You don't even need to fucking name them. So
you could have the Wrecking Crew.
Oh God, yes, do the fucking Wrecking Crew. Okay, see, the Bear Patrol is working. 0 bear sightings. Yeah. Oh, we're taking care of the vigilantes that are out there. So yeah, I would hope that in the next season, at least, man, seriously, pull out a handful of, use guys that we already saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There you go. There's a good handful of villains you could pull off of that, and then a few of us would be happy in the audience.
Heck, man, just, even if it's just bringing back Danny Rand and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage for, I don't know, or one of them. Like, anybody.
Yeah. You could make an easy reference to that. I mean, and I guess that would sort of make sense with the discussions of maybe Jessica Jones popping in and everybody else wanting to. But yeah, that's like easy, low-hanging fruit to have some shots in the background. We don't lose our minds and doesn't commit them to anything.
It is pretty topical to have a figure like Fisk demonizing something that really isn't a problem.
Yeah.
In our world, it only takes one trans person to cause the entire world to think they're everywhere. They're in your closet, they're under your bed, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
You see, you know what I mean? So it only takes, like for Fisk, it's just all he needed was White Tiger. and he can just ride that out and put it out there over and over and over. Problem, there's a vigilante problem, there's a vigilante problem. And enough times you say it, enough people are going to end up believing it.
Yeah, people will be sending memes of shadowy people going, oh, the vigilante attacks here. We saw it happening. They're eating pets.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, you would get a complete. And if that's the case, that would even be an interesting discussion. Could even include BB in this. Is like, hey, there isn't actually a vigilante problem. All the stuff you're seeing on media, half of that is all fake and made up and just done to boost his thing. You know, you could play with those ideas very easily as a reason of why we're not seeing any vigilantes. And look, it doesn't cost you any more money except a scene and some dialogue.
I mean, like the Avengers aren't even a thing.
Yeah.
Like they don't exist anymore. So I mean, it's just like, I mean, they exist, but I mean, individually, there's a Captain America. He knows this, blah blah blah. But like, I don't know.
I mean, and if it's all right, it's usually you can just be like, what, and that spider guy in Brooklyn? Hey, you could get away with saying that without having to pay Sony any money. Yeah. You know?
The webhead.
The webhead, yeah. Well, that was used enough that might be, but yeah, but the reason is you could easily use some of these elements to pull things out, and I think that that's something they need to do. If you are going to establish that this is a world that does have vigilantes in them, and that is the basis of a lot of your conflict, we actually need to see some vigilantes. Because I'll tell you, the one vigilante they aren't going up against, fucking Frank Castle. Okay, the Punisher is not on any of their vigilante sightings, and they still need to deal with that. You know, little droppage from early on in the season. So, droppage.
They never should have brought him back, man. Just because now it's just like, all I want is to see Frank Castle again. And again, I've said that I find the Punisher to be a pretty problematic character, but when he's played by John Bernthal, I just find myself.
Well, and I think that they're doing some sort of special event so they can do like a movie or a couple just short episodes and do something. You know, you can deal with Punisher very well as you just give him high value targets. You give him like the fentanyl king of New York or something like that he's got to go after. Or you have some corrupt government where he's got to piece all this stuff together until he guarantees this is the guy, and then you show, hey, yeah, Punisher kills people, but he makes sure he kills only the right person and nobody else. You know, you could do that and make that an interesting, you know, kind of story. You could play with all of those ideas and not worry about straying too much into questionable territory. Just give them a real target to go after. But just bring them back. That's all I care about. Yeah, I'm going over there. The task force, the notes, we already hit all of that. Fisk using the city stuff. We got BB. I don't know. I think we pretty much covered all of the big stuff. I mean, obviously we're going to have the fallout is Bullseye is on the loose. Matt's at least in the hospital for a scene if they want to jump forward in time, you know. Again, I'm really hoping this is not a Matt's on death's doorway and lets him look back at the choices of his life type kind of episode, because that fucking suck. If this brings back Karen Page, I'm all for that. Any return of Deborah Ann Wall will be a plus in my book.
Yeah, maybe.
If they do it well,
it would be a scene.
Yeah, I don't want to just do that. You're right. That was...
and it's like, you know, they're gonna probably have Fisk visit him in the hospital. So there'll be that, and it'll be the tension between Heather and him and her, and who knows what, and blah blah blah. Let's be cryptic, and then I don't know. I really can't predict what they're going to do, though. But other than what I just said, there will be something along those lines. And will Bullseye, will that be resolved too? I mean, they resolved Muse pretty quick. So I don't know. But I don't think, again, I don't think that, and maybe that's why this is so difficult, is the first part of this is Kingpin's story is so strong, and we've had to watch the rise and the fall. The devil has to go to hell, right? So you have to put Matt through all this hell. But it just feels like we still, it's the way that they're plotting it out, and we just have to, again, they're asking for our trust. I'm struggling with that, but there is hope.
Sure.
That I'll enjoy it more, because like I said, I know objectively this is pretty good. I know objectively this is some of the best stuff that Disney Plus has put out in the whole time that it's been going. I know that the performances are all pretty good. Again, my big problem is predictability. My big problem is some of the writing is pretty standard TV show stuff. A lot of the plot is standard procedural stuff. Like I said, I joked about Law and Order. It still feels very Law and Order to me.
Oh yeah.
But when it does shine, when it has the moments of like Bullseye versus Matt in the interrogation room, when it has Fisk shaking down people, when it has those cops just showing just how little they care anymore about law and order, and when it shows Gandolfini's character, like, it just love it, getting just so wrapped up into all this, and then finding out about the BB stuff. So there is a lot of things wrapped up in this episode that I don't, around some things that I don't like, and I have to like force myself to try to see it, the whole picture, instead of focusing on okay, because I do this a lot. I say I try to watch it and appreciate it for what it is, not for what it isn't. And what it isn't a very good Daredevil story to me, but it is a really good Kingpin Matt Murdock story, just with some pretty predictable stuff going on.
Yeah. No. There's definitely a lot of how do we get to A to B just as simply and straightforwardly as possible. I think there's a lot of characters. Again, Matt's whole remember, didn't he have a case, this Madison guy that pulled him in, and there was a whole scene about it? Yeah, you know why we didn't talk about it? Because we don't care. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't care about Cherry anymore.
Another scene of Matt, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. It feels too much like these are filling in for roles and characters that we already know would do these things, these conflicts better. There's choices that made. I'm not gonna go after that. Just I think these are some of the weaker parts of the show. And I think it's only really frustrating because there is so much really good stuff that is also in this show. And I'm gonna really put out positive hopes with that our season finale next week is going to set up whatever the conflict or direction of season 2 in a good way. I just want to see a strong idea of where you're going to be taking this story in someplace interesting. What that is at this point, I don't know. I mean, overall, I gave my idea. I think, the high lows, and then having Fisk think that he's in the right position, then getting knocked down, and that type of casting. To me, that would be the most interesting stuff. Matt is going to be, the real question with Matt is his girlfriend is Heather going to find out that he's Daredevil or not? And how does that end up? What are the results of that?
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Will it be this season? I think, you know what? Honestly, I think she finds out before the finale's over.
Oh, no. I think that ends up being the conflict from that, and that's what puts Matt in his lowest spot. But I think, again, it's like, if you're going to do that, do something interesting with it. And is this going to make her a different type of villain? Is she going to be this, like, is she going to snap in some particular way? I don't know if that, again, depending on how they do it, if that would be good or not.
I'm a little worried that because she's a therapist, that we're going a little too Harley Quinn here.
Oh, yeah. See, well, see, I can't say that I wasn't thinking that, because I almost made the comparison of the Court of Owls is what Fisk runs into, that type of kind of idea. But I specifically did not want to use that imagery to avoid that. Because
I don't mean either that she's gonna be all cartoony and being like, "Hello, Puddin'."
Oh no, but that would be like, again, that would be too much of, okay, so are you just making Daredevil Marvel's Batman now? Because I wouldn't want that to be it either. I mean, I like the fact that Matt deals with a lot more conflicts than Batman does on what he chooses to do and why he chooses to do it and things like this. I just want, again, more Daredevil in my Daredevil show. Whatever choices you make, let's get more of that.
Again, they blew up over the course of the original series. I mean, we lost people like the priest that he always saw. So he doesn't have that person to go to. Where's his mom?
She was going to take that role, it seemed, but yeah, not brought back for Born Again.
Foggy gone, Karen gone, Frank is too expensive to have on every week. So it's like, they out with the old, in with the new, and I think that the new, just because they need to give Matt this whole new existence with all new people, and they did a good job at putting good actors in those positions, but they are still not those people. I'm one of those people that just, like, I don't trust new people very much, either in a show or in my real life. So whenever, like, I remember, hey man, a perfect example is when they brought in Nikki and Paolo on Lost, right? And I was like, what are they doing here? What are you doing here?
Who are these people?
What are you want? What do you want?
We've been here the whole time.
Okay.
No, you haven't.
That's what I'm saying, is that I just, maybe that's my problem, is that I'm just like, I know I should, like, I know they want you, the show wants me to like you, but the more you try to make me, the more I'm going to reject it. But that's just me. I'm skittish.
Well, I just don't think the regardless of the performances, I don't think the writing and characterization of these characters has been strong enough to make a strong impact outside of your filling a role.
They're not as involved in Matt's life.
Yeah.
They are doing their own things. Cherry is just a guy out there, and when they need him, they bring him in. He is not integral to what's going on in Matt's life. His partner is just his partner at work, and she just wants to know where he is. She is not integral to the plot at all. And so those are two characters that are played by decent actors, really good actors, actually. One's been on The Wire, the other one's on Severance. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with any of that. It's just, we just miss the people that you got rid of.
Sure.
And it's just you can't replace them. You just can't. Or Robert Patrick taking over for Mulder. Okay, I like Robert Patrick back then, but he's just not Mulder.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
Just end the show if you're.
Well, and there are ways I think you can bring in, again, replace people with other interesting characters, and thus they are not filling in for someone else. They are a new thing, but I think that's a challenge when you really have established characters, and I don't think that that's something that they've managed to accomplish or put any focus in.
It would have been easier if they had just recast everyone. Then I wouldn't have any attachment to any of it.
Yeah, but
again, that's just me.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. But again, they
because I
can't
know
Daredevil.
I'm in the minority in how I feel about this, and that everybody, so many more people, the majority of people really love all of this, but I'm just, again, I need to see the whole thing. This is one of those times where, and I heard somebody say this, and I was like, you know what, you're right. I think if I had binged this whole thing, I'd be talking a whole different song, and I don't usually say that. I don't think that I can. I've been struggling with this week to week on this one. If it was on Netflix, we'd have been able to just. Was it good? Yeah, I watched it in 2 days because it's Daredevil, and I'm just gonna watch it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you could try and convince yourself. But again, I did kind of a 1-to-1, actually, episode of one and episode of another, and they don't measure up to the old show. You pick any one episode out of that, and it still blows most of the door away.
Like the weakest episode of the original series still is better than the best one of this.
Yeah, but I think that they've still, again, there is so much really good stuff in here. I will definitely admit that part of my frustration again is that this is all so great. You have this wonderful, delicious sandwich, and yet for some reason you put like spoiled mayonnaise in the middle of it. Yeah, the rest of the sandwich is great, but I just keep tasting that fucking man.
Yep. Every time I bite into it, I know I'm supposed to taste all this other stuff, but
yeah. So that's the only thing. Anyway, well, I think that covers all of the stuff. I am very much happy that Dex is back. I think the characterizations that they've done with him is great. I'm really curious what the arc is, and this does give me hope for our final episode next week, and then moving into the second season. If all of these middle episodes was just to kind of get us to a point, I am totally willing to see it in that sense and move on. But yeah, I think that covers it. Any final thoughts or things that you want to bring up, seeing that you are, from what I can tell, C2E2 bound.
Yep. Tomorrow I get on a train to go to Chicago, where I'll be seeing the Critical Role 10th anniversary live show.
Nice.
That's going to be amazing. I'll also be going to the brand new Harry Potter store that's opening tomorrow in Chicago. There's a D&D themed restaurant bar I plan on going to, and then the rest of it is C2E2, where so many people are going to be there, but I'm there to meet the Critical Role people. I'll be dressed as Hunter S. Thompson on one day and Gambit on another day. I don't know. I might take a day in between to not dress up, but that's probably not going to happen. I'll probably. So, I mean, I'll be taking pictures. I'll be posting them on the Discord. Maybe I'll post them on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a video here and there. I'll be having to conserve my phone because I'm going to be in line for hours and hours and hours on Friday.
Get a power block.
Saturday and Sunday. But it's going to be a blast. I'm going to meet I'm going to talk to some comic book people that I haven't seen in a while. I'm going to, hopefully, if he doesn't cancel, Claremont's going to be there. Ben Percy, I'm super excited to talk to him again. Haven't seen him since the beginning of the Krakoan Age. He's the guy who wrote some of the best Wolverine and X-Force stuff over the last few years. He's been doing the Predator versus stuff, still doing. He's done Ghost Rider. He's an incredible art writer. So it's just going to be a big get out of my head for a little while. And when I come back, maybe I'll be in a better mood for the finale. I don't know. I have a feeling, though, that the finale is going to be a whole other animal. And I'll have a lot more to say about again, where we're going, where we've been, and did all of this, like, was it worth it doing all this? Especially, we'll probably know a little bit more about where we're headed, hopefully.
Excellent. And be sure to keep an eye on Smirking Gun Reviews, because The Last of Us Part 2 is about to debut this Sunday on HBO, and you're definitely going to want to watch this guy's discussions. He's been doing playthroughs of the games. Oh, I am so looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Last of Us Part 2.
We're doing a Mighty 9 campaign right now, too. Right after this, shortly after this, we'll be doing the Mighty 9 campaign in Baldur's Gate. And then, like Monday probably Monday, we'll be discussing The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. I don't know how many episodes they're dropping. Hopefully it's only one.
Yeah.
HBO, they usually just do one because they're smarter. They don't have a good app. And Warner Brothers is a terrible, terrible, terrible film company right now. But they do know putting out one episode a week keeps people coming back.
Big, chunky episodes. Really well done.
Yeah, The Last of Us Season 2. I got so much going on because I feel like I'm not even going to be in a different time zone like you are, and I'll probably feel like I have jet lag.
Well, I'm going to try and make it through this week here. Again, I'm on the East Coast. I'm hoping to hit DC, do a little bit of touristing. You can check out, if I get any pictures done, you can check them out on socials, Blue Sky, what used to be Twitter and is now Nazi Haven. Just don't want to lose my
I gotta delete all that. I gotta get rid of that. I don't know.
Or why. Instagram. I mean, which billionaire do you want to like cuck up to? But that's where I will put all of my pictures if I see them, and that's at Darren Jakes. We will be back next week for the big season finale of Daredevil Born Again Season 1. And then the week after that, we're diving right into, I can't believe it's so quick, Andor.
Yeah,
which I am
busy.
really looking forward to. So that's what you're going to catch coming up here on D's Reviews. You're going to catch some Last of Us and C2E2 stuff over on Smirking Gun, plus some comic drops and some playtime. Go check out that channel. Do the likes, do the subscribes. Bill Casey Woodrow joining us in the chat. Thank you so much. And to everybody enjoying us in the archives in the future, thank you so much for spending time with us. So long. Take care, and as always,